rights, also a necessary protocol, but our concern is just how this will be implemented as the Parliament will agree to ratification, but then it's over to the line departments to adhere to the provisions in that. And I hear that there's another aspect. I hear that there are plans to domesticate. That means that there are going to be national legislation put in place to implement this. And I think it's also important for you as a portfolio committee to be briefed fully on how this domestication will take place. And we must understand that this is not an easy task for a department, but once we have undertaken these obligations, it is binding on South Africa, and the lack of implementation will, of course, always lead may always lead to litigation. Now, after you have made your decision and the House of Provinces have made this decision, Parliament will consider this and will then approve that an instrument of ratification can be submitted. That instrument will be prepared by the Line Function Department in consultation with our office. It is important that the copy of the minutes of both houses reflecting the decision of the houses must be submitted to us. And then we must be very clear, and I see that they are amongst the documents that have been distributed. I see also a draft instrument of ratification, but it must be understood that it's only the President and the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation that are mandated in terms of the Convention on Treaties, that is customary international law, that can actually sign these instruments. The instruments are then bound, signed by our minister, and then it is deposited with the depository as indicated in the agreement, or in this case, the protocol. So, honorable members, honorable chair, as I said, I did rush through our presentation. It was just I hope that this has been of assistance to you. And if there are any records or any requests, I have my colleague also, Advocate Keke Motsepe, with me, and we are available to answer your questions, but just again to congratulate the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities for getting this process so far. We actually admire their perseverance in almost herding cats when it comes to the reporting, because it's not an easy task to get all the role players involved in human rights treaties together and to prepare those reports. But thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much for the presentation. DG, is your hand up? Oh, it was.
Yeah, no, yes, Chairperson, my hand is up because I wanted to rectify some of the things before the members come in. The Department of Women is not struggling to facilitate the reports. And the only report that is outstanding that she referred to is because of Justice. That one, Justice and our department have to report together. Justice received the report in 2019, and Justice has not submitted its part. So what they have requested us now to do was that, okay, they realized that they were late, but now they ask us to augment the report so that we submit in 2022. CEDAW, we do not owe the CEDAW report. The department is up to date. Ever since I arrived in that department, we pushed all the reports. So there's no struggling, but also the protocol is similar to the UN convention, which has been signed, which has been ratified and signed without any reservation in 2007. there has not been any litigation on that protocol, despite the fact that there was no legislation. The department now is in the process working with the South African Law Reform Commission to domesticate the UN Convention. So because these two instruments are the same, the protocol is going to be ratified through that. Now, once it is ratified, the Law Reform Commission will have to amend where it has UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and include the AU protocol on disability, because they are the same. The ratification will be the same. So the risk of litigation since 2007 up to now, there has not been any litigation. So that is really far-fetched, but the department is not struggling at all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, DG, for clarifying some of the issues. Don't mind my voice, or honorable members. I don't know whether I'm getting flu or what, but it is due to the weekend was too busy for me. You know, I have a few questions that I want to ask both the department and DERCO. I think I'm glad that you, DG, you are saying as the department, you don't have a problem with regards to what DERCO was presenting now in terms of the protocols that are outstanding and the protocols that you as the department are responsible for. But what is the function of the National Disability Rights Coordinating Mechanism in the Department for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities as it relates to the AU protocol? And while the committee welcomes any law or convention that further assists with achieving the rights of disabilities, how will this protocol be different? Because at present, the implementation of the Convention on the Rights with Persons with Disability have not been implemented effectively. And how will this protocol be monitored? And what is the reporting strategy of the protocol? And also, if you can explain, DERCO, if you can explain to us in detail how this protocol will have zero cost implications. Because the campaign alone, even to you, Puti, the campaign alone will have financial implications. So when you say this protocol will have zero cost implications, how will that be achieved? Because so far what I know, you do, whatever your campaign you're going to do, you'll need funds to do it. So if you're saying it won't have any financial implication, you mean you are going to do it how? You know, the other concern that you are having as a portfolio committee, what DERCO was saying, DG, is that things, protocols are being kept. I don't know whether the delay is within the Department of Women or the other department, but what is critical and important for us as the portfolio committee to deal with all these matters and present the report on time, it's the responsibility of the department that you make follow-ups, because it's not that you as state law advisors for DERCO, you don't delay them. For instance, I will make an example with one protocol that was presented last year. In terms of, what was that, the prohibition of child marriage. That one was delayed. and I'm not sure whether it is the problem of the Department of Women alone or its other department, but even yourselves, you are responsible for these protocols as an international, as DERCO. So why are you not making follow-ups? Because it can't be the Department of Women alone. I don't want to be their shop steward. But at the same time, what I'm saying is you are also responsible for those protocols. So why are you not making follow-ups? Because looking at this one specifically, that's why I was asking Kuti, when did they consulted with regarding to this protocol? Because if it's 2019, this is 2022. Why did it took so long for yourselves to make sure that this protocol is finalized by South Africa? And then at the end of the day, portfolio committees will be like, they will be taking responsibility of things that were not done by them. Because when you don't submit reports on time, that also disorganizes portfolio committees. Because we'll have to shift our program. And you know yourselves that in terms of parliament program, some of these protocols, they should be fitted in to our programs, but I think it's not correct. This needs to be changed. Let me give honorable members an opportunity to get to ask clarity-seeking questions. I see Honorable Sharif.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Honorable Tongo, Honorable Nobo, Honorable MPT. I don't see other hands. Nelly, you said you invited the Portfolio Committee on Health.
No, Chair, it's only our committee.
Okay. In that order, any other member? And my last one is, how will the Department of Women will ensure compliance with regarding to the AU protocol? In that order, honorable members.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good morning, colleagues. Chair, I'm probably going to come back because I'm still doing some reading based on the 2018 report that was presented, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, that was sent on October 2018. But my first question, before I come back to that, is in the second presentation we got from Advocate De Wet, she spoke about that when we sign any agreements, treaties, South Africa has first ensured that we have the domestic law in place before signing any international agreements or treaties or all of those things. For me, my issue still remains, we still don't have the necessary domestic legislation. I mean, the white paper on persons with disabilities is taking forever. And so my question is, how then are we going to sign an international document without having our own domestic laws in place? And then secondly, there were many concerns raised in the 2018 report. And I just want to find out from Puti, has these been taken into consideration in the final document, and what is the outcome? Chair, please allow me to come back. Just give me some time to read through some more documents and I'll come back. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, I think my other question will be, what measures are in place to deal with non-compliance? I think I'm asking it for the second time now. Honorable Tongo.
Thanks, Chair, and greetings to honorable members. Chair, Earlier on, you asked a question on when were the public participation done, and the answer was in 2019 and 2020. Now, my question to you would be, if they were done in 2019 and 2020, how were they done, especially in 2020, where the COVID-19 issue started? So I'd want to know, how were the public participations done next year?
Or during COVID?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Ngobo?
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning, colleagues. Chairperson, my concern is almost the same as the one that Nestle raised, Honorable Sharif raised, regarding the fact that we don't have a legislation that speaks to the rights of persons with disabilities. And in my view, I think that the department has not done enough to ensure the inclusion of persons with disabilities. For instance, till to date, we still have not received the Disability Right Bill. The department has not been able to conclude this bill. This is despite the fact that the issue paper on this bill was concluded in December 2020 by the South African Law Reform Commission. And if you look at Article 4 under General Obligations of the protocol, it requires that member states, including South Africa, must take appropriate and effective measures to promote, protect, and fulfill the rights of persons with disabilities. And one of these measures is legislation. And so what I would like to find out from the department is, what is the status of the Disability Rights Bill? And as the portfolio committee, when can we expect the department to conclude this bill? Because as DECO indicated, that it will be very difficult to properly ensure the domestication of the protocol in the absence of a specific Disability Rights Act or legislation. So just also to find out, how will the department then implement this protocol if there's no Disability Rights Act or legislation in place? Also, if one looks at Article 16 of the protocol, which deals with the rights to education for persons with disabilities, I think the department still has a long way to go to advocate for these rights and make sure that persons with disabilities are able to access education on an equal basis with others. We still have, for instance, children with disabilities who are at home today because there's a shortage of special needs schools. And just to find out from the department, I think it's something that we've also touched on, Chairperson. I just want to know, what does the National Disability Rights Coordinating Mechanism entail? And how will this mechanism monitor the implementation of policy, service delivery, and protection of rights of persons with disabilities? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Babu Ngobo. Just to emphasize on the issue of the disability bill, on how far is the process with the South Africa Law Reform Commission and DG? How far are they with regard to this process of the bill, and when are they going to table the bill in Parliament? Because I think the questions that honorable members have just asked, they are important. How far is the department also regarding that? Because we can't be saying, well, you are waiting for the South African Law Reform Commission and you don't push them. Remember, we said it must be a priority. So how far are they? Because we have never got the report. So I'm sure, you'll tell us, how far are they? Honorable Piti?
Thank you very much, Chair. Very good morning to honorable members and colleagues from DECO, the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. Chair, I don't want to repeat what has been said by honorable members, but I think in the main, what is very clear to me is that there seems to be a disjuncture between what DIRCO had agreed to on the 29th of April 2019 and what the department was supposed to do, or at least supposed to ensure is done before this particular protocol is brought to the committee. Because I really do get a sense here, Chair, that there seems to have been, undertakings that were made when this protocol was signed versus the fact that nothing was actually happening domestically on the ground in South Africa in terms of making sure that this protocol is already aligned with domestic policy and domestic legislation. And I really do think that there are a lot of gray areas that are not fully being presented in this particular report, because if there is an indication that there was, public participation of some sort that happened around the protocol, one would have expected to get the dates, get the organizations that were involved, the individuals, how many people were there, so that we have a good idea and a good sense of the type of communication that has happened, or at least the type of public participation that would have taken place, particularly with this protocol. One knows that within this particular area of the disability sector, there are many stakeholders who hold our portfolio committee in a very strict and high regard, because they expect us to be able to ensure that the spaces that they are unable to get to are knocked down by this portfolio committee so that they have a voice in those spaces. This is a group that has consistently been left out, particularly on issues that are about them. And that is why the quote, nothing about us without us comes from, is because many of these decisions are taken without them. And are made by people who believe that this is what is important for them. So I really do think that piece of information is critical in this discussion. When did those consultations happen? Who were they done with? There must be a report that must be brought forward to this portfolio committee. Secondly, I think it's very important for us to understand the timeline between the Department of DIRCO and the Department of Women and Youth and Persons with Disabilities. At which points was the conversations and communications around what the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities was supposed to do, and how they were supposed to, before and after, after the 29th April 2019, what were some of the measures that they were supposed to take? Because there clearly is a disjunction between this protocol and what we have domestically as legislation in this country. And therefore, I don't know at this particular point, and perhaps we can be advised, now that there is pressure, I assume, for South Africa to ratify this particular protocol, what does that then mean for us in our portfolio? Because we cannot now be put in a position to ratify something because of time, whereas we are very clear, knowing the community that we are here to represent, the disability community, would not be appreciative of us taking a decision such as this, whereas they have not actually on the ground seen the after effects and the power of legislation working in their favor. Now, it's all good and well to have protocols and legislations and policies that are there to enhance and to really improve the lives of South Africans. It's great and I support it. However, if that is not translating on the ground and we're just doing something in order to make sure that South Africa at an international level is not embarrassed because they have not ratified something that was agreed to on the 29th of April 2019, then we actually do a disservice to the people that this committee is there to support, which is the community of disabled individuals and persons. So I really think we need to be able to apply our minds, not only in terms of receiving additional information that this presentation has lacked, but to also get clear legal opinion on this particular issue, but also ensure that all the voices that matter in this regard are in the room and are not left behind, because I think it would really be a disservice for our portfolio committee to agree to something that has excluded a number of voices, because one would like to agree with Honorable Songo, Honorable Sharif, and Honorable Ngobo, because the points that have been raised by them are salient points, I think, that really need to be answered, and not merely answered in this portfolio committee, but we need to receive those documentation so that we have a full picture of what is being discussed in this particular meeting. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mpiti. If I may ask DG and Puti, what feedback did you get from the presidential Disability Committee regarding the bill, and also regarding this protocol?
Can I come in, Chair?
No, let me finish everything. Ne? And I'm sure what we can do, honorable members, also is to invite the South African Law Reform Commission to come and make a presentation to the portfolio committee, maybe next week, regarding the disability bill, on how far are they, and the presentation, so that we know exactly where is the delay. And then I think the other thing that we need to do is to check all the bills, DG, that are with your department, because you see, I get worried that will be running all regarding bills and protocols. We are always running. We are still waiting for that one, DG. Me and you, we spoke on how can we fast track that protocol of last year, December. But till to date, it's your department haven't tabled it back to Parliament. So it's a problem, because you'll be coming to us running and rushing us that let's finalize it. And it's not correct. So I think it's important that you must put them in order of priority, and so that we finalize them in the second term. Yeah, we need to finalize all these bills. I thought by now we would have finalized the other one. And then I think the other thing is, how is the department going to doing it? Well, how is the department doing? What is the department doing to address a lack of disaggregated data in relation to tracking disability mainstreaming? And then my last one will be, does the department have a clear set of indicators nationally for the public sector that is monitored and evaluated? Can civil society access your indicators to track progress? I'm sure, DG, you'll agree with me on whether you are monitoring these issues quarterly or annually. Because you see, sometimes other things you don't report to the portfolio committee quarterly. But I'm sure we need to be sure on how then do you report whatever the department is doing regarding issues of disabled people. Because all of us we know that there's an outcry that issues of disability are not being taken serious by government. It's worse with regards to the bill. And I'm asking myself, honorable members are right. How are you going to monitor? Let me give you an opportunity to respond to the questions that were asked by honorable members and myself.
Chairperson, if I'm allowed to ask one more question.
Okay, Sheriff. And Mamsoti.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, as I was speaking earlier, in 2018, there was a document sent from the UNCRPD committee, which deals with this protocol. And there were some challenges and issues that were raised, such as the type of disability that's been taken into account, as well as the, like you mentioned, this desegregated data that's been given, as well as state parties were meant to submit second, third, and fourth reports by the 3rd of June 2022, which is this year. So I just wanted to find out from the department what's the update on that and the response to that paper produced by the UN in regards to some of the challenges. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Mamsonti.
Thank you, Chairperson. Morning, members, and morning to the department. Chairperson, person with disabilities, Chair, are not recognized, more especially in the rural areas. Example, there are more in rural areas who are suffering. Those who have not wheelchairs, others can't even have access to attend the school because of shortage of assistance coming from the government. Also in the working areas, they are not respected and recognized at all. In the ranks are struggling, no platforms for them to ride, the taxis, the buses, also in the trains. It is so sad, Chairperson, about these people. Their rights are still not recognized at all. We want their voice to be heard, and they must be taken seriously all the time. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mamsonti. The last one, what is the department's strategy to monitor and evaluate whether the AU protocol will be given effect to a domestic level? I think we're done, honorable members, with the questions. I'm sorry, thank you very much. Over to you, Department of Women and Terco.
Thank you, Chairperson. I would like to start by responding to the issue of the Law Reform Commission in terms of by when are they going to finalize the report or what is happening. Last year, I organized the Law Reform Commission to come and present to the Portfolio Committee on the 26th of January last year. The Portfolio Committee, the South African Law Reform Commission presented to the Portfolio Committee and presented the plan of what is happening with the implementation of the report. The report was finalized and consulted in the issue paper was finalized. I think it was in February, and it was consulted in April last year. It was published. It was published and consulted, and we assisted them to host consultative workshops in provinces until, I think, for 3 months. We had workshops together with them for 3 months. But also their presentation to the Portfolio Committee, they had indicated the phases, and they indicated to the committee that the bill will be supported during the the financial year of 2023 and 2023-2024, because they indicated that they developed the issue paper, and then after that, they will develop the draft, but also the consultations, because after the consultations, they are now integrating the inputs, but also they are doing further research on the bill. And I think the department couldn't be able to develop legislation at the level that the South African Law Reform Commission will. But also the other thing that they raised when they appeared before the committee was that they are still investigating whether they are going to develop one legislation or more than one legislation, because there are different aspects. There are issues of criminal law, there are issues of civil, there are different things that they're still investigating whether they should produce one or four legislation. I remember when I brought them to the committee, I was also complaining about the period which they take, and they indicated that that is how they do the legislation, because they investigate it thoroughly to make sure that later the legislation is not then challenged in court for not being properly developed. However, the Law Reform Commission is in the process of working with the legislation. But also I want to rectify one other thing. Domestication means after the ratification. You domesticate after you've ratified. And also I would like to respond also and clear something that the Department of International Relations said, that we want to ratify when there's no legislation. The UN protocol was ratified without legislation. Many instruments, your CEDAW that they refer to, was ratified without legislation. I'm not sure when did that process of requiring legislation before ratification came, because you don't domesticate. If you've already have legislation, that means you not domesticate. You just ratify for the sake of ratifying. You domesticate after ratification. That is my understanding. But also the issue of the reporting strategy, Chairperson, as the Director General of the department, when I arrived, I realized that there were challenges with the departments in terms of providing information, because the department reports what departments need to ratify. So what we did, we brought the University of Pretoria, the section that deals with what do they call it, the Human Rights Center at the University of Pretoria, who then brought our department and the Department of Justice together. But we then signed, the three of us, our Department and Justice and the University of Pretoria, we signed an MOU with them so that they assist us to finalize all the instruments. So that's how Justice now is working with us in order to finalize the only a protocol that is outstanding, the one on the protocol on women, the AU protocol. On CEDAW, what we did.
What did you?
Yes.
I want to take it back.
Yes.
The issue of why are we saying, let me wear my spectacles. Why are we asking Guti, how are you going to enforce when you don't have the law? You enforce what?
Chairperson, ratificate, because the issue is, how do you domesticate? These are two different things. Domestication is developing legislation so that you enforce the ratification. That is what our constitution says, that any international instrument will not have force and effect in our country until it is domesticated. But also, this is how South Africa has been operating. As I said, that the UN protocol, it was signed without legislation, and it was signed 2007. That's when now, as a department, we're working on a legislation to domesticate the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. The other thing also is that, as I said, that there are many, I can count many instruments that have been ratified without legislation. Legislation follows after. But earlier on, I indicated that South Africa is in the process of domesticating the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which is similar, which the protocol is similar to it. They copied from it, but that then gave it an African, face, but it is similar. So the protocol will be integrated in the process of the legislation that is being developed. And the protocol will be faster because the process of legislation is already underway, unlike what happened with the protocol. The UN convention, it was ratified in 2007, but the domestication started now in 2019 or 2020. But also, Chairperson, in South Africa, one thing I know is that because of our constitution, whether you've ratified an instrument or not, litigation can ensue based on the constitution, because the constitution already gives anyone the rights. So it's not simply because you have signed you've ratified an instrument. If people want to litigate against South Africa, they will litigate based on the constitution on its own. That's why people can litigate against South Africa, even when there's no legislation. People are able to go to court and litigate. So unfortunately, that is the kind of South Africa. It's not because there is an instrument. And now also going to the one that you were referring to, the one on child marriage, the one on SADC. I know that DECO says there will be litigation. There's possibility of litigation. Chairperson, we already have laws that in South Africa that are in contradiction with the Marriage Act. The Marriage Act that they're trying to protect. First of all, the Recognition of Customary Marriages Act says marriage under 18 is invalid. The Civil Union Marriage says, the Civil Union says marriage under 18 is invalid. But we also have a Sexual Offences Act, which says sex with a child below 16 years is a criminal offense. Our laws on their own already can cause litigation, but there has not been litigation. So it's not because we've ratified an instrument that there's going to be litigation. And I think our Sexual Offences Act trumps all other acts. If somebody were to want to challenge the Marriage Act, they will start from there, that the Sexual Offences Act says a child below 16 can't consent. So if somebody were to say the child consented to marriage, it contradicts the Sexual Offences Act, which says a child below 16 years can't consent to sex. So already there's a big conflict, which I think DECO is not aware of. So those are some of the challenges that people will select a certain instrument and say something about it. Even this instrument, whether it's ratified or not, the rights of persons with disabilities can be enforced in court based on the UN protocol, because it is the same. We've already ratified without any reservation. And the reporting protocol, we are not late. We are ready even with the one for 2006. However, the commission has already communicated with our department that they have case-based backlog. They are going to give us another date to report. If there's one thing, Chairperson, that I've made sure in the department was that we're not going to be behind, not even one day behind in terms of submitting reports. And Chairperson, the other thing with the CEDAW committee, what I had to do was to call each director general to say, I want you to give me a person who will work on this. We reported, the CEDAW committee was here in South Africa, and we did very well. We did South Africa very well. So as a department, not only do we follow people, but also I talk to my colleagues, we support each other, but also we've signed an agreement with UP to assist us. Yeah, we've signed an MOU with University of Pretoria to assist us so that we have capacity. And then
so how are you going to ensure compliance?
Compliance, the way the UN convention is enforced, because what happened, the white paper on the rights of persons with disabilities was drafted based on the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the SDGs, and our Constitution, and Agenda 2063. So all of them were put together to develop the rights of persons with disabilities, as indicated that the clauses that are in the AU protocol are similar, are taken from the UN Convention. So we will be able to enforce because we're already doing that. And the department has developed, there was a question about the indicators. The department has developed the indicators based on the white paper, which we are monitoring. Even last week, we submitted the reports to the DGs cluster, which are going to the president which are going to cabinet. We have an annual report that we submit, 2 annual reports that we submit to the president, but we have quarterly reports that we work on and we submit to the DGs clusters. So that process will already incorporate the AU protocol. The AU protocol, I want to repeat again, whether it's ratified or not, the implications thereof South Africa has already assumed in the UN protocol. Chairperson, there was a question of concerns raised in the 2018 report. First of all, I would like to indicate that the rights of persons with disabilities came to the Department of Women on the 1st of April 2020. In 2019, when the president pronounced that persons with disabilities are removed again from social development and brought to the Department of Women, they came to the department. The process was effected in 2020. They started in the department on the 1st of April 2020. So all those processes then had to be restarted within the Department of Women, but after 2020, because there was an issue about April 2019 where the protocol was submitted to the portfolio committee. I think it was by the Department of Social Development that submitted that. The rights of persons with disabilities came to the department in 2020. Also, the issue of legislation, I've already responded. And the fact that the South African Law Commission is working on that one. I'm not sure Puti and Benny can respond, but also the other question that was asked was the issue of financial implications on raising awareness. There are 4 frameworks that the department has developed, and 3 of them have already been approved by cabinet. The other one is going to cabinet committee this week and will go to cabinet committee. No, it's going to the cabinet committee on the 26th. So all these frameworks, once they're completed, we already have a plan with budget that we're going to raise awareness on them. And those frameworks were also developed based on the UN Convention. So that we will integrate the AU protocol. That's why we talk about no financial implications, because the UN Convention is already being enforced in that way. So it will follow the UN Convention because its rights are similar to that of the UN Convention. But also in terms of awareness raising, we are not going to create a new branch in the department. The units that are there will be working on that. So I'll request Puti and
Titi,
yes.
I want our law advisors from Parliament to come in.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honourable members. Just to clarify, I'm Barbara Lewis from Parliamentary Legal Services. To what extent would Chair and the committee like me to comment on this? I did prepare an opinion for the select committee that I'll be presenting this afternoon. But just if I can request guidance on this, thank you.
What happened now? I'm kick it out.
Hello, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Chair, I would just like to request guidance to which extent the committee would like me to comment. I did prepare an opinion for the select committee that I'll be presenting this afternoon. Would it be sufficient if I limit my responses to that?
No, we want that what you prepared for the select committee. Yeah, yes, I know, it's the state law advisors. You can present what you have.
Good morning, Chairperson.
Morning.
And honorable members. Yeah, we only got to know about this meeting at a late stage last week. So we couldn't prepare anything. But what happened is that we did look at the protocol. We received a request for an opinion from the Department of Social Development in 2018. So they wanted an opinion from us regarding whether or not the protocol is consistent with our domestic law. We gave a legal opinion to the department. The opinion simply says that we have looked at the protocol, and in our opinion, the protocol is consistent with our Bill of Rights, sections 9, 10, and 27, read with section 9 of the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act, and section 9 of the Social Assistance Act. So in our view, we couldn't find anything in the protocol that is contrary to our law, including the Constitution. In any event, we found that already our law are fairly protective of the rights of persons with disabilities. Thank you.
Yeah, it shows good domestication is poor. Okay, over to you, TG, again. Nazir, I see Honorable Sheriff.
Okay. Chair, just a quick note, Chair. In this conversation, you know, I get really concerned, especially at the domestication, like you said, Chair. I mean, if we look at the white paper, it's not the strongest bill out there. We look at the instances of how persons with disabilities have been treated in South Africa, looking at the South African Human Rights Commission report on children with disabilities at special schools where children lost their lives, and then also looking at life Isidimeni. So there's obviously a habit of South Africa not, I don't want to say looking after, Chair, that's the wrong word, but that's, you know, the only word I can think of. And the domestication of our laws is weak, Chair. And so we need to be very sure that if we approve to the ratification, what exactly are the mechanisms to ensure that people with disabilities are actually being given a proper life filled with dignity in order for them to live the best lives that they possibly can. I just wanted to bring that up, Chair, because we've seen some horrific trends in South Africa when it comes to persons with disabilities, and we must ensure that we strengthen our legislation to make sure that we keep them safe and secure. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sharif. Alfred, what you are saying, Guti, you were informed about this meeting last week, and it was late. It's here, no there. Why am I saying this? We did not get invitation yesterday. We got it last week. So in terms of preparations, Tina, as a portfolio committee, we sometimes receive reports a day before the meeting. So that's what we call late. So when you got a report last week, so you can't be saying it's late. Whoever is not muted, mute mic, because you can't come to a meeting and open your mic. You have to step. So the reasons that you gave us now, they're not acceptable. Based on the invitation that you got it late. What is late? If you didn't do, yes, you can respond, Alfred.
Yes, I apologize, Chairperson and the honorable members. The letter of invitation was sent to one of the Deputy Chief State Law Advisors. What I mean, we got it late. The Deputy Chief State Law Advisor was engaged in other matters, so she only brought it to our attention on Thursday, I think. So on Thursday, it was late in the afternoon. And it also happened that on Friday, some of the colleagues were not available. But the point is that we gave a legal opinion to the Department of Social Development regarding the protocol. So the only presentation that we could make, it was going to be just the legal opinion and nothing else. The legal opinion, I don't know if the department has the legal opinion. They could make it available to you, Chairperson, and the honorable members, because it basically states that we are of the view that the protocol is consistent with our domestic law. So in which case it can be ratified. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll need that legal opinion that you sent to social development, because if you were listening to Uputi, she said they are going to popularize law and to the community, this protocol to our communities. So as honorable members, we need to understand exactly what was your legal opinion and what are we dealing with, so that whatever report we adopt it with every information, so we are able to even explain to other people. You see, the DG, we have asked her uncomfortable questions and she responded. She had to go into detail in explaining what is domestication, what is ratification, and why are we having, how are they going to monitor? If I can, sorry for that. And she also was able to also alleviate our fears in terms of how are they going to implement this protocol when there is no act or there's no law that governs it. So with her explanation, at least, even though I was disagreeing with her in some instances and other honorable members were worried about that, but at least that clarification and the detail she gave to us, you know, it has empowered us one way or the other. And now we know where are the gaps, you know, even if there is litigation, we understand what can happen, what cannot happen, and how can a government defend some of the cases using UN law, UN agreement. She said what? Yeah. But what is critical, honorable members must get information at hand so that when we deliberate on these issues, at least we are basing our arguments with the information that we are having. It empowers us. We are able to explain to our constituencies, what does this entail? So, nina nihlala ningekho vele, nihlala nibhizi. Yabo. Sometimes we wish as honorable members, but if you can submit that legal opinion that you sent to social development to the portfolio committee, we'll appreciate that. Because I understand frustration is corner. it was coming from social development when President announced a proclamation now my issues, my services, or my issues with disabled people are going to the Department of Women. Then they had to follow to do all those things. So it's fine. We'll await that legal opinion, Alfred. Over to
Thank
you,
you, Chairperson. Thank you.
Over to you, Titi.
Thank you, Chair. The legal opinion was submitted with this document. We can still send it. Also in the invite, this link, it was attached, but we can also send it to the chairperson. Earlier on, I was requesting Puti and Benis, Puti and Beni to respond to the questions that I missed.
Thank you, DG. Thank you, Chair. On the issue of the organizations, we consulted, Chair and honorable members, with 31 sector organizations and the Presidential Working Group on Disability. In actual fact, we also post in 2019-2020, also reconsulted again with the Presidential Working Group so that we able to get all their inputs into this particular protocol. And also to indicate to chair and members that we have regular, ever since 2021, sorry, we constantly on a quarterly basis, and as and when there are matters that are requiring a consultation, and also bringing on board the sector organizations and the Presidential Working Group, have regular meetings with them to discuss any matter that may arise over and above consultations on the bill, on the issue paper, and so forth. As at last week, we had a Presidential Working Group meeting, a physical meeting with the whole Presidential Working Group, talking to the issues around the discussion paper that we are waiting for the South African Law Reform Commission to deposit to us, because they indicated that it will only be ready at the end of this month of March 2022. We also developed a plan to then have consultations broadly with communities upon receiving that discussion paper, chairperson, which is towards the development of the Disability Rights Bill. So in terms of where we are right now, we have already engaged with the Presidential Working Group in terms of processes that the South African Law Reform Commission have indicated to us, and we do make regular follow-ups. And because in line with your words, Chair, that we are definitely wanting to see that this process is not prolonged as long as it has been. So by the end of March, we'll have the discussion paper as per the South African Law Reform Commission, and from there we'll start to implement the project plan that is already developed with the Presidential Working Group. And we also will have the National Disability Rights Machinery. That's the coordination mechanism, because we have convened the National Disability Rights Machinery on a quarterly basis from 2021 to ensure that they report on the activities of their department, but also using the monitoring and evaluation reporting mechanisms that we have put in place, that we're also working with the DPME in that regard to ensure that they report on progress in terms of the implementation of the white paper, but also on progress in terms of how their APPs have been developed. And we have gone an extra mile, Chair and members, of ensuring that we also provide technical support to the departments themselves to ensure that they actually report adequately, due to the challenges that I think Honorable Member Sharif indicated in the past in 2018, where you'd find that departments do not report adequately. On some departments don't even report. So we now went further to provide technical assistance for them to actually report. And that is why at the end of every reporting cycle quarterly, we ensure that the same departments, we sit with them, with civil society organizations and the Presidential Working Group to validate the reports, because upon validation, we then take the reports to the clusters of the DGs. And right now, we are awaiting to deposit the very reports, monitoring and evaluation reports, which talks to the white paper and also the analysis of APPs to Cabinet, so that it's known and Cabinet is also aware of how their departments is progressing in terms of implementation and ensuring that rights of persons with disabilities are realized. And we can safely report, Chair, that we have seen a shift, especially with the 4 frameworks that DG was talking to. Ever since we developed the 4 frameworks and the 2 that have already been gazetted, it has now become understood that we're expecting them to begin to implement and report factually, impactfully on how they are implementing those particular frameworks, because the frameworks are actually further guidelines to assist them to implement on matters on rights of persons with disabilities. So we're taking the 2 frameworks on self-representation and awareness raising to Cabinet this month. And upon that, we'll go into Gazette the 2 also. And upon gazetting, that will also serve as instruments for them that makes it mandatory for them to implement, whilst we don't have an act in place as yet, and whilst we're building up on processes towards having the act. But to say also, Chair and members, that the awareness raising, just adding to what DG was saying, it comes at no additional cost. Hence, I indicated that within the current institutional arrangements, we are going to undertake awareness raising on the instruments that we have, including the AU protocol, to communities. And we don't just want to make them aware that the instruments are there, but we also want to go in depth so that we equip them with knowledge of what the instruments entail in depth and how best they can utilize them. There was a question.
Why are you repeating it? Because the DG has already answered that one.
My apologies. Awareness raising is at the core of my being. So I'm sorry about that. My apologies. I wanted to touch also on the issue of the disaggregation of data. It was raised. We're working with Stats SA, and Stats SA using the Washington model. And we actually got stuck last year with Stats SA in terms of them finalizing the council membership, but we are working on it right now. They're finalizing the council membership, because that is where the issue of the Washington model is it has to be threshed out to ensure that at that level with Stats SA, disaggregation of data begins to happen. But we're not only waiting on that, Chair and members. What we have done is that within our reporting mechanisms, within even programs that departments are reporting to the department or to the Department of Women on, we're ensuring that they begin to disaggregate the data, especially because the thresholds have been set. So we're holding them accountable to reporting on disaggregation of data in terms of how they are doing on persons with disabilities. I can give an example, Chair and members. We were in a committee that deals with the sanitary dignity matter. What we found when departments were reporting in provinces was that they were not reporting on how they are ensuring that learners and girls with disabilities have access to sanitary pads. So since we sat in that committee and emphasized on the issues of them disaggregating the data and going in depth, where we begin to see how many and women with disabilities are benefiting and girls with disabilities in schools are benefiting from sanitary dignity. And also in terms of participation of persons with disabilities in terms of economic empowerment, how many are then empowered to also participate in the mainstream economy, the value chain of the sanitary dignity campaign. We started to see reports coming in. And as I always say, we also saw some provinces in their processes where they were allocating suppliers began to consider suppliers of persons with disabilities to participate in that activity. And we had to take them on board, making them aware on how best to reach persons with disabilities in terms of information dissemination and making it easy for them to do that. We are seeing that in economic programs through the economic cluster, where we indicated that we would want to see specific packages or grants or programs that talk to empowerment of persons with disabilities, and not to assume that when they empower women, they are empowering it includes women with disabilities. So we started to demand, using the threshold, the actual data on the empowerment of persons with disabilities. Just to cite 2 examples in that regard.
Just hold on, Puti.
Yes.
Last week, in fact, you just triggered one issue that was raised last week in the meeting we held with the Portfolio Committee of Higher Education, in Science and Higher Education. Last week, we were in that meeting.
Yes.
There was an issue that was raised of this aggregated data also. And there was an issue of irreasonable accommodation, but there is a challenge for disabled students that in fact they're not getting joy from the department. It's one matter issue that needs to be followed up by the department. We have raised that issue, that policy is not fully implemented, and there is lack of monitoring on the implementation of policy, especially specifically to disabled students and teachers, honorable members, if I'm not mistaken. So that issue needs to be followed up by the department. You just triggered my mind and reminded, and I remembered that there was an issue that was raised in that meeting when you spoke about the sanitary dignity PEG distribution for young girls.
Okay, yes, Chairperson. And on the issue of higher education, I was in that meeting. We've picked up more points. Yes, I was in the meeting. I attended the portfolio committee meeting, and indeed we did pick up on the issues. And one of the things that I can take the portfolio committee into confidence is that, in actual fact, the disability, what do we call them? In institutions of higher learning, we've got disability desks, and those disability desks, their mandate goes further, and we established those disability desks with the institutions of higher learning through the Department of Higher Education. So the students with disabilities in most of their higher education centers, they are aware of the role that the disability desks, which are part and parcel of the management of their higher education institutions. There may be gaps here and there, and which some of them were aware of, and challenges in terms of ensuring that some of our students in those institutions are properly accommodated, as you have spoken to the issues of reasonable accommodation, but we are aware of their role. In actual fact, Chair and members, when we did the consultation on the issue paper, one of the key stakeholders that we could not leave out was actually students with disabilities in those institutions of higher learning. We can provide details. We did include them in the consultations, and they participated maximally. And some of the issues we picked up from there, and we liaised with the Department of Higher Education.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, the depositing of the report for the 3rd of June 2022 on the UNCRPD. We are on track with that one. And I'm sure when we come to report to the portfolio committee on our quarterly report, we will be providing the portfolio committee with details with regard to that. Yeah, I think the others, Chair, they were covered by the DG. Oh, there were issues of assistive devices. Last year we did an assessment, but it was a desktop assessment in terms of how we are progressing as government in terms of ensuring that persons with disabilities do receive assistive devices. We had a meeting with the Department of Health where they indicated the challenges and the backlogs that are there in terms of providing assistive devices. But then also there was a challenge in terms of our citizenry, especially persons with disabilities on the ground, knowing what processes to follow for them to be able to eventually have access to assistive devices. So hence, we then embarked on an awareness campaign during our Disability Rights Awareness Month on TV, Chair also, and on radio. We did run some information what do we call them, infographics indicating to our citizenry how best they should start with the processes of ensuring that they access the assistive devices. Because one of the key things that came out was that with the Department of Health was that they have a backlog. Yes, they understand, but most people are not coming forth approaching their clinics in order to register in their National Health Register, which is the register that they use to determine where there's a need and so forth. And where there's a need, they're able to address those needs through their district hospitals and ensure that our persons with disabilities have access to those assistive devices. But also they indicated that they definitely have a backlog on wheelchairs in the country in terms of dealing with the shortage and the need for wheelchairs. And as a department, our DG then is leading us in a project that we are working on that we'll report on in the year that's coming, on partnering with different agencies that could assist us probably to fast track the issues of shortages of wheelchairs, because there's indeed a serious shortage in that regard. I think the other questions, Chair, were addressed by the DG. I just filled into the spaces where I thought DG may have left out. And maybe let me check with Ntate Padime if he's got something to add. Benny?
Babu Ngobo, you're noted.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think the DG and the have covered all the questions that needed to be covered. But just to say that, as we have indicated in the presentation, the consultations took place right away before. In the drafting model of the protocol itself, South Africa participated by and large before the even state. And
Chair, we cannot hear, Chair.
Ntate Penny, we can't hear you. I don't know whether it's your gadget. There's a bad sound.
Oh. Okay, Chair, I hope you can hear me now. Can you hear me, Chair?
Mpiti, can you hear him?
Chair, it seems there's an echo. I'm not sure what's happening, but he sounds very far from the mic.
Okay, I hope you can hear me now, Chair. I was just saying, I think the Director General and the have covered all the aspects of the questions that were asked. Just to say that South Africa was part of drafting the protocol itself, even for the meeting, and also that we were able to meet the President of the Republic in order to finalize this matter as well. The report from December 2020 can be made available to the portfolio committee as been requested. The opinion
Chairperson,
in the documents.
Sorry, Chair.
I'm sorry.
Asimvubaba, ingathi uthethe holweni akavakali kahle tu.
Yeah, Ntate Penny, can you switch off one of your gadgets? and maybe use
Okay,
one.
Chair. Yes, no, I'm switched off all of them now. I was just saying the South African delegation participated in the drafting of the protocol even before 2015, and the presidential working group has been consulted through its work streams and also in the bigger meeting of the presidential working group in December 2020. The report can be made available because on the 3rd of December 2020 when that meeting is and discussed this matter. Thank you, Chair.
I think Puti can clarify, because I've also heard somewhere, I didn't hear somewhere, he spoke about the presidential working group on disability having been consulted, but I didn't hear which report, because he referred to the report on the 3rd of December. Puti, what
Yes.
report are you referring to?
Okay, yes, did you know, he was just saying that, emphasizing on the issue of whether we are consulting with the Presidential Working Group on Disability, and that we have that report available to provide members on and chair the report of the 3rd of December 2020 consultation, the added consultation that I indicated earlier on, that we even re-consulted with the Presidential Working Group. So he was just emphasizing that we can also provide that report. Thank you, DG and Chair.
Thank you.
Puti, or DG, you can come in.
Thank you. Also, I wanted to say, we hosted a summit with the Department of Basic Education last year on access to education for persons with disabilities, to look at the white paper on access to education for persons with disabilities. We were supposed to host that summit together with higher education. However, higher education requested that the summit be separated from theirs. We will host the summit together. That's another way of us being able to monitor, because it was a 2-day summit and there were persons with disabilities who were raising their issues, and the fact that the white paper on access to education for persons with disabilities needs to be reviewed. And the challenges that have been raised, Chairperson, we're aware of them. We will be starting the evaluation of the schools, because there are 400 special schools. Earlier on, there was an issue about the special schools, and there are 800, what do they call it, fully inclusive schools that are supposed to be catering for persons with disabilities. However, when we go outside, we were in Lichtenberg at the beginning of this month, where we met with the disability sector. The complaints that they raise, so then it requires us to evaluate all these schools. So it's 1,200, and the department doesn't have capacity. I think the disability unit has about 12 or 14 people. So we'll be working with universities in order to be able to evaluate whether those schools are responsive or not, and also to be able to work with them with the higher education and both basic education to be able to address some of the challenges. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, DG. I think, Puti, if you can just go revisit your strategic plan on what did you say? Yeah, your strategic plan and your APP for 2021-2022. Nina, you said you are going to design the awareness raising for the awareness raising framework. That's what we said as a department. But also what we want to know from you is, when are you going to start those campaigns, and where, if you can just furnish us with that information, so that as honorable members, we can be able to send to everyone in the committee and other members in other portfolio committees for their constituencies, so that they can invite communities in those awareness campaigns. I think that's what is important for us.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think we still need more information on the entire process. I don't have a problem with recommending the ratification of the protocol, but my problem is that we still have not seen any reports which details the consultation that took place with the disability sector on this protocol. And we do not even know what the inputs were of the disability sector, as well as the input of the Presidential Working Group on Disability. Since this information was not on the presentation, maybe what we can do, Chairperson, is not to adopt the report today and wait for all the information that is still outstanding from the department. And also, maybe in our next meeting, the department can also give us more information on the National Disability Rights Coordinating Mechanism, because to me, it's still not clear how will this mechanism implement or ensure the proper implementation of the protocol. And also, I think the input from the disability sector organizations, it would have been great if the portfolio committee took those inputs into considerations as well, because if we don't consider the input, we don't know what the inputs were, then I don't think we're doing justice to the organizations that took their time to submit to the department. Thank you.
But maybe what we can do, if at DG you can send those documents, it's a summarized one. I think it's a summarized, the summarized version. Ne? We
Yes.
don't need the raw material. We want the summarized one. DG, hopefully your department does have that information. If they can be submitted to the portfolio committee, and then next week we finalize this report. Is that fair?
It's okay, Chairperson. We will be able to submit all the required documents.
Okay, and maybe we can also invite that commission that you were talking about at TG, although you did explain the phases that they presented to the portfolio committee, but I think it's also proper that we invite them to the portfolio committee next week. Even the presidential working group on disability, we can, yeah. I'm talking about the South African Law Reform Commission, that you can invite it to next week, and the presidential working group, we can invite them next week, so that we deal with these matters and finalize them next week, Tuesday, once and for all. Is that fair? Is that fair, honorable members? Can I get
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Babu Ngobo?
Yes, Chairperson.
Okay.
That is right.
Okay. Okay. I think we have done what we're supposed to do before we adopt our report. So next week we'll be inviting them. Nelisa, Kashifa, you need to make sure that you invite them. And who else, Kashifa, that we need to invite next week?
Good day, Chairperson and members. You're correct. It's the South African Law Reform Commission, as well as the Presidential Working Group on Disability. Unless members feel there's any other organization that they'd want input in. But I think the summarized report on the consultations would give members an idea of what the input the department received nationally.
Can you also invite that disabled organization? What is that name? South African Disabled what?
There's the South African Disability Alliance, there's this Disabled People South Africa, There's Disabled Children's Action Group. There are quite a few national organizations, but maybe we can liaise.
Invite them for the next week meeting.
Yes, Chairperson, I'll liaise with Neliswa.
Okay. Ms. Tivet?
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you also for allowing Dirko to come and present to you. I just want to emphasize one aspect that I think need to be highlighted. We are dealing with two spheres of obligations in this whole process, and it is correct that international agreements becomes law in South Africa when it's enacted into our national legislation. Now, the reason why I raised the issue of the lapse between what we do when we ratify and when we enact was simply because Cabinet is seized with that matter, and we have been tasked to report to Cabinet twice a year. And I also want to profusely apologize to the DG. I did not mean that the department is struggling because of its own doing. It is just that this is such a difficult field, and as you have mentioned in your discussion, is that it cross-cuts all sectors that are involved: education, health, justice, you name it. And it is indeed a very difficult task to coordinate all of the role players to prepare the reports. And so I just wanted to say, and I also want to just finally say that we are supportive of the ratification, and the only intention that we had this morning was just to highlight that there is that difficulty of South Africa becoming party to protocols, international agreements, and not fully have the ability to implement them because we do not have all the necessary legislation. But thank you so much for this opportunity, and I wish you well in your deliberations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tivet. Any other hands? Bonnie?
Morning, Chair.
Yes, Bonnie, how are you?
No, I'm good, Chair. Following, I don't with the last inputs that have been made. I think I'm okay with everything, Chair, and then preparing for the meeting for next week.
Okay.
Thanks,
No,
Chair, and no comment. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, honorable members, and thank you very much, DG and Mr. Vet and Puti. Thank you very much. Yeah, you are hitting the road running now. The only challenge is that you did not open your camera. So we are not sure, DG Gucci, whether she's appropriately representing the department or she's somewhere else.
No,
no, not at all. I'm getting ready for the bus, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. You can be excused. And Alfred, thank you very much. You are excused. See you next week.
Thank you.
Next week.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Thank you, DG.
Thank you very much, DG.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. We can, honorable members can remain there so that we finalize our business. Neliswa, what is the next item? Is the minutes?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. How many sets of minutes, Nelly?
We have 7 sets of minutes, Chair.
Okay, honorable members, we can continue with our business. Yes, here are the minutes of the 6th February 2022. Briefing by the Commission for Gender Equality on the following reports. Commission for Gender Equality report on elections and gender mainstreaming. Research report of the Commission for Gender Equality. Report of the Commission for Gender Equality on Government's Emergency Response Action Plan, ERAP. And then a briefing by the South African Human Rights Commission on the report of on Northwest provincial investigative hearings into the lack of safety and security measures in schools for children with disabilities in South Africa. I think here are the minutes, honorable members. But before the minutes, honorable members, I'm sure Neliswa, it is proper, or Kashifa, it is proper to update the committee on the planned oversight on what is in progress and whether we're still going or not. Because we're informed that on that week, next week, we'll be having a sitting, 2 sittings, if I'm not mistaken, or it's 1 day or it's 2 days, I'm not sure. But next week there'll be sittings. Kashifa?
Yes, Chairperson Neliswa will be able to give members an update in terms of the correspondence received from House Chairperson's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. We've received, all committees have received a memo from House Chairperson indicating that next week has been changed in terms of the parliamentary program to committees, because on the 3rd and 31, there will be a sitting and members are required to be there. The one is on the 30th, which is, I'll have to check the program, Chair. And now I know the 31st is questions to the Deputy President, but the other one, I think it's motion of no confidence to the President and Cabinet. So members are required to be there. That week has been changed to committees. Committees will be allowed to sit to have their business in the morning from 9 until 1, and then at 2 until late, it will be plenary. That's the reason why that all committees will not be allowed to attend or to visit the oversight as planned, Chair. Thank you.
And then that is the report, honorable members. But we said we'll have to look at the Parliament's program and then Parliament program, and then see on how then do we fit in our oversight visits again, so that we make sure that we do our oversight, honorable members. I think what I have tasked Aboneli so also, it's we are going to look at prioritize disabled issues as the portfolio committee. And I said they must also look at studies, because we are going to have that bill very soon, whether we do a study tour on disabled people and young people. So they must look at countries where we as the portfolio committee can go and do study visits on the two issues of disabled people and youth. I'm not sure by now if whether Kashifa we have, and Tasnim, you have done any research regarding those matters, because that's what I've tasked Uneliswa to do, and also inform you regarding to that. Uneliswa, can you update us? I said one should be overseas and one should, you should be looking at one African country, whether it's West Africa or it's East or Southern Africa. But we need to look at that. So how far are you? Nelis and Kashif, can you respond?
Chairperson, thank you. It's the first time I hear of Chairperson's request, but between myself and Tasneem, we'll definitely look at you saying an African country and another country with matters pertaining to disability. So
where
are you
there's
asking
good practices, ne? Where there's good practices regarding issues of disabled people.
Okay.
I think that that one should be, as a portfolio committee, we should prioritize issues of disabled people, since we are going to deal with that bill, ne, of disabled people. But also the second one I was saying it to Nelly, so it's young people. As a country, we have high rate of unemployment. So you need to look at other countries who are performing very well in terms of programs and issues of young people.
Thank you, Chair. Can we just get a timeline in terms of when you envisage this?
You and Nelisa need to discuss this thing, because I don't know why didn't she tell you. Just discuss as staff, because by now she should have told you.
Sure, will do. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, and look at the program of Parliament where we have many days, so that at least we can be able to travel as the portfolio committee. Is that in order? Kashifa?
Yes, Chair. Myself, Tasneem, and Neliswa will discuss, and then we'll hear from Neliswa and about the program. Because in term 2, we deal with all the budgets, and then the mini plenaries around that. So we'll just need to look at for this year what's been prioritized in terms of when oversight would be allowed.
Yeah, I know that health is going to, they are going where, by the way? They are going in, I think next week or next week, but health is going, I know. So even our portfolio committee must be prioritized. So let's go to the minutes. I take it that honorable members do have the minutes.
Sorry, Chair.
Honorable Mpeti.
Apologies, Chair. I just want to just maybe have some clarity in regards to the oversight that was due to take place. So now that it is postponed, is there sort of a time period that we should plan to? Because I think it's important for us, and just in terms of just organizing our schedules. Is it something that will happen perhaps a week after that, or do we know when it will take place? just to get some clarity. Thank you.
Ashifa?
Chairperson, I'm going to ask Eliswa, because from the correspondence we received from House Chair, there was no indication as to how your constituency time will change and in terms of the requirements for term 2. But maybe Eliswa got an update. I'll hand over to her.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I was struggling to unmute. We have not received any time, Chair, or a schedule for the oversight. We're still waiting for an updated parliamentary program where maybe they will indicate when committees can conduct their oversight. Thank you, Chair.
So we're not even sure when is our constituency period now.
Yes, Chair.
Maybe Honorable Mpiti, the programming committee, when they sit on Thursday, they will then discuss and give us a new program for Parliament. Honorable Mpiti.
Thank you, Chair, because I think there was still just a bit of confusion as to whether we are continuing or not continuing. So I just wanted it to be clear that we are not having any oversights next week, and it's postponed up until there's a date going forward, of which we don't have right now.
Yeah, I think programming committee, when they sit this week, they'll discuss when is our constituency period, and then we'll take it from there. As soon as we get a new program of Parliament, we'll then revert back to that program to your oversight visits. Any other clarity from honorable members? Are you clear? Carol? Honorable Carol?
When I'm clear, Chair.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm declared Chair's okay,
Chair. I'm okay.
All right. Thank you very much, honorable members. Neliswa, if you get any information, please update us and send that information to honorable members, because it's only a matter of changing dates.
Will do, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, here are the minutes. I'll give you 2 weeks, Tasneem and Kashifa, to look at our study tour issue.
Okay, Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Are you okay, honorable members? I need to ask you also.
Yes, we're fine,
Chair. Study tour. Honorable Sheriff. Honorable Mpiti.
Covered, Chair, thank you.
Right, ne? Good Masen's study tour will look at issues of disabled and young people and youth.
See, happy, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's get to the minutes. Oh, yeah, Pats Neliso. Any clarity seeking question or matters arising or correction in the minutes? If there's none, can I get a hand for? Can I get a hand for the Honorable Masondo?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. I move that we adopt the the minutes as true reflection what transpired in the last meeting.
Okay, can I get a second?
Honorable Ngobo, seconded.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ngobo. The minutes of the 6th February, if I'm not mistaken. Are we able to speak things about it data right? 9 or 6?
It's 8.
8 February 2022 have been duly adopted. I know all of us were fully participating in this meeting. Can I get another set of minutes? Minutes of the 15th of February 2022. Briefing by the Commission for Gender Equality on the following reports. Commission report on progress report on transformation in the public and private sectors. Progress report on the state of shelters in South Africa, 2021. A report of the Commission for Gender Equality on an investigation into choice of termination of pregnancy in South Africa, 2021. Got any corrections? Because you have received these minutes early. Any corrections, honorable members? Okay. So yeah, last Kamalam. Any correction? Any omission? Can I get a hand for the adoption of the minutes? Honorable Hlongo.
Thanks, Chair. I move for the adoption of the minutes.
Can I
thank
you very much, Honorable Hlongo. Honorable Hlongo has moved for the adoption of the minutes of the as a true reflection. Honorable Mamsonti.
I'm seconded, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mamsonti, for the secondment of the minutes. The minutes of the 15th of February. Let me double check the dates. 15th of February. Yeah, 15th of February 2022 has been duly adopted. Thank you very much, honorable members. Chair, I to Pel.
No, Chair, 7.
7. Why
Yes,
7?
Because we have not been adopting, Chair.
I will let you walk in a speed in this. February, any correction? Omission? Ababengekho emhlanganweni. Ambisa phela sibona. Uma Mhlengi ukhona namhlanje.
Sorry, Chair, screen is gijima ngespeed asiboni i-attendance.
Awubuyele phezulu Neli.
I can see Chairperson, my apology, but I don't remember the date. I don't see the date.
Yeah, 22 February. Yeah, boy, if I get apology.
Thank you, Chair. Okay.
You mean he was present in that meeting? Okay, can I get a mover for the adoption of these minutes of the 22nd February?
Chairperson, I move to adopt these minutes as a true reflection of the meeting.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sheriff. Honorable Masondo?
I support the minutes, Chair, as seconded.
Second the minutes as a true reflection. The minutes of the 22nd February 2022 has been duly adopted. Let's get another set of minutes. So namhlanje ni strike all of you. You don't want to show your faces. 23rd February 2022, the meeting was about CGE, and they were presenting a report on an investigation into a choice of termination of pregnancy in South Africa. Oh yes, a report of the And so what happened here? It was a carry-over meeting.
Yes, Chair. And one, I think
We deferred the report to the 23rd.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah, ngiyayikhumbula termination of pregnancy. We deferred it to the next meeting, and now le ERAP. Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. Okay, hamburger. Ngiyaphangisa kakhulu angisabonanga ukuthi obani bebengekho meeting. Mamsonto bowungekho nala.
No, Chairperson, bendukhona.
Honorable Sheriff,
What I remember on that 22nd February, it was my end of my suspension, so I didn't attend. But this following week, I was attended.
The following week, not the following day. We had a meeting the following day.
Oh.
Yep. When I was there the following week, with the following day, Tina Saban meeting 823.
Okay, Chair.
Yeah. Honorable Sheriff?
Chair, I'm just looking at my notes. 22nd Feb, we did the Audit Risk Committee, all of those. 23rd of Feb, we did the Termination of Pregnancy Act with the CGE. And we went through all the provinces. And then sorry, that was Multi-Party Women's Caucus. And then the 1st of March, we did the CGE quarterly report. So you're correct, Chair. The 23rd of February, we did the termination of pregnancy report because we deferred it.
Yeah. Yeah, because there were many reports. Yeah, can I get a mover for the adoption of the report of the minutes of the 23rd February? So it was you, myself, Masiko, and Babu Ngobo. Ambitsa and Masondo. Yes, it's a puzzle. So it's only us who can adopt. Yeah. So, can I, yeah. Honorable Sheriff was confirming that meeting of the 23rd that we're having, the items that are there are correct. So, Honorable Sheriff, can you move for the adoption of these minutes?
Of course, Chair, I move to adopt these minutes as a reflection of the meeting.
Thank you very much. Honorable Masondo.
I second, Chair.
Thank you very much. The minutes of the 23rd February 2022 have been duly adopted. Can we get the next set of minutes? Nediso. Yeah, I remember. We were having a risk and audit committee on the 1st. And can I get a mover for the adoption of these minutes? Go up, Noliswa. You remember, honorable members, we have requested the commissioners to send us the document on the appeal that they've made regarding the audit finding. And I just received it now. Here is it. And I'm sure even yourselves, you're going to receive it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah. Nani, I think you're going to receive it. Can I get a mover for the adoption of these minutes of the 1st March 2022?
Yes, Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the minutes as the true reflection of the meeting.
Thank you very much. Can I get a seconder?
I second, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pony, Honorable Pony. The minutes of the 1st March 2022 have been duly adopted. Let's get another set of minutes. Minutes of the YCC Champil 15 March.
Sorry, Chair. Rashid.
Okay, it's fine.
Oh.
But ngiyathanda ukuthi hambe nge-order but so fakile wayekela.
Yes, 8th, Chair. Ah, man, sorry. What am I
Okay.
doing?
Why
No,
is
no,
your
sorry, wrong.
manje? Ngiyakutshela ngithi yenza ulo umatch. March 2022. Awusisilapho sibone. These ones are for last week. Yeah, on the 15th of March, it was a presentation by Vuyela Phezulu. It was a presentation by a petition by Honorable Sheriff regarding the Uyinene Khwechana Foundation. And that petition was presented by Honorable Sheriff. And we also invited Uyinene Foundation to make the presentation. So the petition was about the establishment of the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, and responses by the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. Number 2 was about a briefing by Department of Social Development on progress with regards to implementation of the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. And then the third one was a briefing by the Department of Health on the progress with regards to the implementation of NSP on gender-based violence and femicide. We're all present. Mam Sonti Phela, bengekho.
Benkhona, Chair.
That was on the lighter note. We're all present. Let's get a
it was very interesting.
Yeah,
it was very interesting, yes.
This was a very fruitful meeting. And thank you very much, Honorable Sheriff, for bringing that petition to the Portfolio Committee. Can I get a mover for the adoption of these minutes? Mam Sonti?
I move Chairperson for the adoption
of the minutes. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Honorable Mam Sonti is moving for the adoption of the minutes of the 15th March 2022. Can I get a seconder?
Chair, I second the minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mpiti. Honorable Mpiti has moved for the secondment of the minutes of the 15th March 2022. The minutes of the 15th of March 2022 have been duly adopted. Let's get the last set of minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Nelly?
Yes, Chair.
Sipe, my minutes, somewhere about 8, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, where's my minutes now?
So when I adoptile manje.
6, Chair.
Yeah, layer is 7.
Yeah, I'm just checking them. Give me a minute, Chair.
Where did?
Yeah. Them, Chair. Where's my minutes of the 8th now?
When did that?
They are lost somewhere here.
But I want to also thank all honorable members who attended the meeting last week with the Portfolio Committee on Higher Education, and also your participation, honorable members. Thank you very much. You always make the Portfolio Committee to look good by doing your work. Anytime that you are called for a meeting, you always attend. Thank you very much, honorable members.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. And thanks to you as well for leading our committee in the way that you do.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Thank you, honorable MPT and Mam Sonti. Thank you very much. You know, it's, you know, when you go to other committees and with your members and they participate actively like you did last week, you made me very proud. You are always on point. You read. And you know why are you here as honorable members? Naim Hlolo, when njani?
Alahlekile.
Wakhuphe mine kanti lama minutes.
Laptop yami giving problems.
Okay, here are the minutes of the 8th of March, 2022. The meeting was about a briefing by the Audit and Risk Committee on National Youth Development Agency on its second and third quarter report. And Bona, they presented the first quarter, which was not what was expected and required. And what we did, we said they must go, we'll invite them in the second term so that they come and present their second, third, and fourth quarter report in our second term. But also there was an issue. Yaga Chair was not part of the meeting, who sent a representative. And the chairperson has also informed me that her term of office will be lapsing, and she's not intending to renew a contract. And she has accepted an appointment to serve in the Audit and Risk Committee for DERCO. So probably the will have to appoint a new Audit and Risk Committee to serve on for this term. So I think it's something that they have to move very fast to do it. I want to keep it out of the meeting. Let's try to be faster so that Ingat main keeper foot is and Masiko is not in the meeting. So can I get a mover for the adoption of the minutes of the 8th of March 2022? Kashifa, I take it that issues to be followed up by us need to be sent to the NYDA and the department by yourselves, and we need to get a report. And what we have said to only Department of Higher Education, that we are going to invite them to our portfolio committee regarding the issues that were raised by us in that meeting, which they were not ready to present, to respond to the committee. I'm sure, Kashifa, you know those issues that were raised. But also what the minister was saying also, please write to them and look at the date and the day in the next term on when are we going to call them, to invite them.
Yes, Chair, when Elisa gets indication from House Chair about term 2, we'll prioritize all the APPs and budgets, and then all the follow-up issues. We'll make sure that there's a meeting as per all these minutes about these matters. So just to recall, with this particular minutes, the agreement was that when the NYDA comes to do their 4th quarter report, the ARC will come and present all the issues for the financial year. Because they couldn't present at this meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Can I get a mover for the adoption of these minutes of the 8th of March 2022?
Chair.
Honorable Masondo.
I move the adoption of the minutes as true reflection what transpired in the last meeting.
Thank you very much, Honorable Masondo. Can I get a seconder? There's no second.
Seconded, Chair, it's Honorable Shongo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Shongo, for the secondment of these minutes.
Oh, Chair,
Honorable Shongo was not in the meeting.
Was not there, Chair, so I'll second it.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you better like my apologies. Thank you, Honorable Honorable Mamsonti.
I second that, Chairperson.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Honorable Sharif and Honorable Sonti, for seconding these minutes. The minutes of the 8th of March 2022 are adopted. There's no other minutes, Mosne. Issues that to be followed up by us. Please, Kashifa, Melissa, you need to do that in writing so that when they come to the portfolio committee, they're able to present the outstanding matters. Please write early to them so that they cannot come and claim they just got invitation late, like what the state law advisor was saying. They got invitation late, but they got invitation actually very early by last week, Thursday. Thank you very much, honorable members. Any other matter? There's none, ne?
No, Chair. Well done.
Yeah, I think we have tried our level best, honorable members, to push those reports by IOST from Parliament regarding letters that were sent by Human Rights Commission and ECGE. Those investigations were done by us, but also issues that we said we are going to follow up on Human Rights Commission report. Please do a follow up. Right? Do it in writing so that at least you can get a report on what is it that they have done, so that when we go for the oversight visits, at least we'll be having that report on hand, and we are going to be able to engage on those matters. But we have come to the end of our meeting, and thank you very much for your attendance. We'll see you at 2 o'clock in the sitting. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, honorable members.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chair. Bye.
Bye. Bye.